Hey everybody, I am starting the live. Had a little technical difficulties in the beginning. I do have lighting so you can see my ring light and my glasses, but I can't see a recipe without my glasses. So anyway, we thought we would give this a shot today. Talk a little real estate, make some pumpkin bread, and so we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna start. We will post the recipe for you if you're interested in the recipe. It is a pumpkin streusel bread, so I like to bake during the holidays. And if you guys have recipes, would love to have you share them with me, whether it's cookies or breads. I'm a baker. I'm not a cooker. My husband cooks, not me. I'm a baker. So today we're gonna do the pumpkin streusel bread. I don't do this. My team talked me into doing this live and talking real estate, which multitasking, I'm okay at multitasking. However, reading recipe, talking to you about real estate, all of it, we'll see how it goes. So anyway, let's get started with the topping, because that one's super easy. It's two different sugars, brown and white, cinnamon and some pumpkin pie spice and some flour and just some butter. And we're just gonna mix that up. And I just realized I don't have a fork. I'll be right back. Got my fork. Okay, so anyway, you mix this up and you basically just throw this in the refrigerator during the time you're mixing up the bread. So let's see, we'll just get all this ready to go, and then I'll throw this in the refrigerator until the bread mixture is done. So let's talk a little bit about holidays and listing a property during the holidays. I get people asking me that question all the time. Do I list now? My answer to that is twofold. If you're living in the property, obviously listing during the holidays can be difficult. You know, you've got holiday decorations up, you're having people over for the holidays, but if you have to sell your property, then obviously we can sell it during this time. Lots of advantages to that. Less competition on the market, not as many people who are just what we call kicking tires, taking a look at houses. They're actually there to buy. Here in Oregon, obviously it rains a lot. People, if they're coming out to look at properties on the weekends during open houses, they're usually pretty serious. So that's one thing about listing if you have to when you're living in the house. If it's vacant, then I absolutely say list during the holidays for the same beneficial reasons that we just mentioned if you're living in the house. But if it's vacant, you're gonna wanna make sure you have your temperature up. You're gonna wanna make sure you stage it, because you don't wanna walk into a cold, empty house. That's not gonna feel very good. So those are a couple of tips during the holidays. I also say houses sell 12 months out of the year. So it all depends on what's happening with you and what your particular needs are as a seller. So there's a little real estate. Here's some topping, and we're gonna pop that in the refrigerator. I hope it doesn't fall out when I open it. And then we'll do the rest of this. So if you have any questions, you guys can just write the questions out, and I'll try and see this. I'm doing this by myself, so I'm trying to look at comments and answer questions. So repeat it. If I don't see it the first time, repeat a question if you have one. So the bread, for the bread part, we're going to mix up some pumpkin and brown sugar, kind of similar actually to the topping. We're going to do the wet ingredients first. So can of pumpkin, brown sugar, white sugar, a little vegetable oil, and I'm going to turn this on. It's going to be noisy for a second. So you mix this up, and then we'll put in a couple of eggs and some vanilla. And that'll be kind of the pumpkin portion. We'll add flour and everything in a second. So I'm gonna kind of talk real estate seller heavy because as most of you know, and if you don't know, my husband and I are a real estate team. Tom does the majority of our buyers, not all, and then I do most of the listings. And so you see Tom talk a lot. If you follow us on social media, Tom talks a lot about interest rates and what's happening in the market, and that stuff is so valuable to understand really and keep on top of what's happening in the market. So I'm going to talk a little bit seller heavy. If you have buyer questions, I can certainly answer those as well. Seller, I was going to talk about, we talked a little bit about holiday listing your house during the holidays. If you are thinking you want to sell, but you don't want to sell during the holidays, you've decided it's not the time for you, and you say spring is going to be the time, that's great. However, keep in mind that spring, when people see those numbers in spring, everybody says, oh, houses is a great time to sell. Keep in mind, those houses are going on the market in January and February, because the numbers that you see in March and April are the houses that closed. So it takes about 30 to 45 days to close a property. So you have to be on the market. And in our market, our changing market now, homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer. So a couple weeks, 3 weeks to get under contract, and then 30 days after that. So if you are considering selling in spring, January and February is your time. So now is the time to start talking to your realtor, or even better, us. But now's the time to start considering that and making those plans. It's never too early to talk to us. So we help you decide what to do to get the house ready, gives you time, gives us time to get marketing things together, and really just be prepared to hit the market at the pristine time with everything done as far as marketing goes. So I'm gonna pop this on again. I added 2 eggs and a little bit of vanilla so I can mix this up. And I'm gonna look and see if I have questions. Let's see. Yeah, we answered the spring question. Not seeing anything else right now. So we're gonna mix this up, and then I'm gonna add half of my dry ingredients into the pumpkin mixture, which is flour, baking soda, cinnamon, and more pumpkin pie spice. So let's see. I'm gonna add a little bit of that, and it's gonna make a mess because I inevitably make a mess when I'm baking. Woo. Oh, look at that. I did it. Speaking of baking, I kind of have a funny baking story. Again, with my multitasking, which is never a good idea for me when it comes to baking. I decided I was making gingerbread one year. I make the gingerbread. I put everything together. I think I've got it all good to go. My family starts to eat it. I bake it, and it's fine. However, in talking about, somebody asked me about the recipe, and in talking about the recipe, I realized I didn't put any ginger. No ginger in the gingerbread. To be fair, it had the molasses, which is really where it gets a lot of its flavor, and it tasted great. However, didn't have any ginger in the gingerbread. What can I say? It tasted fine. Thankfully, the recipe was forgiving, and it was all good. So, let's see. What else can we talk about real estate? Interest rates went down. That's a good thing. Tom did a reel on the interest rates, and so those have dropped. He's the real technical word person, but for me, when I'm talking to buyers, keeping track of the interest rate is great. Ultimately, the important thing is to talk to your lender. Your lender is going to tell you what those numbers look like, what your particular numbers look like, and how you can adjust things if necessary. We help you find the property and help direct you as far as negotiating and things like that, but your lender is going to help you with your bottom line numbers because they're going to know your financials inside and out. So super important to talk to your lender and understand where your buying power is at and how that goes up and down in the market and with the interest rates. Also, we're seeing sellers offer credits to a buyer, which will help a buyer potentially buy down their interest rate if that's going to be helpful for them in having enough cash. It doesn't help them qualify, but it will help them have enough cash if necessary. So that's helpful to them. I think we are done. Ooh, I learned a new tip in making this bread. Oh, the other thing I complicated myself with is I've never made this recipe before. So here we go. Anyway, new tip. I haven't seen this before, but it said to put parchment paper in the lining parchment paper this way in the pan. You cook it like this, and then when you lift it out, the sides of the parchment paper help lift the bread out. That was kind of genius. Never tried it. We're going to give it a shot. Clearly, I'm a baker risk taker. So I'm going to put this in, and then I'll pull the streusel out of the refrigerator, and we'll kind of clump that up, and then we'll put it in the oven. So, and like I mentioned, we will post the recipe if you're interested in making it yourself. And yes, please share any of the recipes that you guys have, favorites that you like to make during the holidays. So again, I am doing this myself, so if I'm missing any questions, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to not spill this everywhere. Let's see, any questions? I'm not seeing anything off the top of my head. Let's see, what else can I talk about? As far as, I already mentioned that properties, there are, our inventory is up a little. I think we're a little over 2.5 months of homes on the market. Which is still a seller's market technically, but because of interest rates and everything, the market has changed. It's a little slower. You have some room for negotiating. So it's definitely worth, if you are ready and in the market, it's absolutely a good time to take a look. You have some more choices on the properties as well. So I'm gonna grab our scooper. And you just kind of clump this up because now it's a little harder with that butter. And so now it's going to be chunky. And I will throw this on top of the bread. And we will go to the oven. So if you guys ever have questions, we are here to help. We like to answer questions. We understand that buying and selling is a process. It's not something that you normally wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to sell my house, or oh, I'm going to buy my house. You need to get information, and we love to give our clients information so that you can make the best decisions for yourselves. It's really important to arm yourself with that information, and that is our job, is to help provide that to you. And then once you make the decision and you're ready to rock, we are there with you every step of the way, getting you through the transactions, whether it's buying or whether it's selling, and then of course ultimately closing and either moving on to a new home or a new adventure if you're selling, or into your new house. So anyway, thanks guys for joining me for this little live, and I'm gonna pop this in the oven and we'll take a picture and we'll post it along with the recipe if you're interested. So hope everybody's having a great day. Great Wednesday, hump day. Thanks for joining. I don't know how to turn it off. We'll figure it out. No, I think I closed my camera. I don't know how to stop it. Oh my gosh.